Aaron Matthews here with BleacherReport.com here at the WWE Tryouts in Nashville. We're scouting the next WWE superstar. We're talking to one of the people involved very much so in the process. You know him. It's Paul Heyman. Paul, what's going on today?
That's your question, what's going on today?
Well, I mean, I guess so. I didn't say what the haps. I'm not Sam Roberts, but I just, you know.
Oh, Bleacher Report, that's what's going on today. Oh,
I guess so, yeah.
It's the best thing going.
I guess so.
It is the web. Mm-hmm. It's Web 3.0.
It is Web 3.0. I mean, this is the future. You talk about the future. We're at the future, Paul. We're looking for the next WWE superstar, and your presence alone really does add a lot of credibility in finding this next superstar. There was that video that went viral of you talking to the talent yesterday here at the Tryouts. Just talk about your experience so far and what you're seeing from these talents.
Youth, enthusiasm, vision, desire, ambition, the unknown.
Yep.
The pursuit of a dream.
Yeah.
And that's for an old guy like me, that's something to be around. You know, I mean, you just take all that youth and rub it up against yourself, and you run with it. And I learn from them because I'm in my 50s, so I don't, with the exception of my children.
Yep.
Who are always going to be, you know, my children, and therefore they're going to be guarded in what they say around me. I'm not around a bunch of 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds. So to hear them in their own environment, around their own peers, within their own culture, speak their own lexicon, tell me what resonates with them. Mm-hmm. You know, well, what motivates you to become a WWE superstar? Well, I want to be a mental health advocate. Well, you know, I have a brother or a sister who's afflicted with this. Well, I had an uncle who was a fan that then this was his downfall. Or you know, when I was a child, this is who I looked up to, and here's why they resonated with me. And to understand what people today of that age are motivated by, are inspired by, what they aspire to be and why, what changes they want to make in the world, brings an understanding of the youth to me, because when I speak on television, I not only have to communicate with people my own age, I have to communicate with people who are far younger than I am. So if I'm out there and I'm just the old guy that you know, talking about the San Martino days, I'm yesterday's news, and there's nothing older than yesterday's news. But if I want to stay relevant, which is the entire concept of being on the island of relevancy,
of course,
with the biggest star in the industry today, then I need to be able to communicate with an audience of that age. So hearing them, seeing them, feeling them, understanding them, resonating with them, interacting with them and now it's been 2 days, is an education process for me as well.
Yeah.
I benefit from this probably far more than they do.
Well, you talk about Roman Reigns, too. I think you bring up a great point as far as someone who obviously has wrestling background coming from the family, but he played football prior to this point. I mean, a lot of those attributes that made him successful in football make him a successful superstar, and that's what we're seeing out there right now. Can you talk a little bit about the similarities between the people you see out there right now, Goldberg, someone obviously you have a lot of history with as well, and why we need more of that in professional wrestling and in WWE just in general through this program?
Well, there's a dedication that athletes have that non-athletes don't have.
Yep.
And it's about the acceptance of sacrifice, the understanding of there is suffering in any and physical price in anything that you're going to be able to do. When football practice is at 6 a.m., I'm not a morning person. So I obviously didn't play football in high school or any other time in my life because, number one, I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. And number two, if I did, the last thing I want to do is run a 40-yard dash or a scrimmage.
Of course.
But there is a sacrifice that an athlete has to inherently make from the moment that they make the commitment to become an athlete. And that's another word. There's a lot of commitment in this industry. And the commitment is number one, on a physical level, to be reliable enough that we can advertise you for a show that's going to take place 90 days outside of today and have the ability to bank on the fact that you will be there at least in enough of a capacity that you can put on a show that's going to entertain the audience so that they will be happy that they paid their money to see you. On another level, there's a commitment to the performance aspect of this business. And as any actor or singer or performer has to make the commitment to the character, the commitment to the persona, the commitment to the pursuit of the presentation that you're giving. And when you are trained as an athlete, the word commitment and sacrifice are two of the most prominent and important components of making you successful. So you have a head start over someone that is not of that background.
Interesting. I mean, especially with that background, too. I think that's such a key word in developing these next stars, finding the next star for WWE, for NXT, the main roster, what have you. And there's been so much chatter about the program and what makes a successful superstar. We're still really early on into it. We're still kind of figuring this out as we go along. I mean, just talking about that a little bit, too, we were just talking to James a couple minutes ago, such a drastic difference in how WWE's found stars in the past, and you've been here the entire time. You've been involved with wrestling for a very long time. You've seen the ups, you've seen the downs as far as scouting talent, how it works. How does this program kind of different than everything else we've seen in the past? This, Triple H finding people from the independent scene. I mean, this is very much different. Not to completely dismiss that, and we'll see more of that in the future, obviously. But as far as this goes, it's a very different approach. So far, it's been a success. When you see something that we were talking to James, as far as it being a risk, is it something? I mean, especially with someone with your rich wrestling background. I mean, it's a little. I'm all over the place here, but just kind of talking about that a little bit.
But I think what you just said is a part of it. It has to be all over the place.
Yeah.
It's no longer of, hey, did you see this guy? Wow, he does the best moonsault on the indies.
Exactly.
Hey, did you see this guy? He can cut a great promo. Hey, have you seen this guy? I like the way he walks to the ring. We're doing combines. We're seeing all of your gifts now.
Yeah.
We're running you through the gambit. When someone goes to an NFL training camp, they know everything about you. They know how fast you do the 40. They know how fast you do the 100-yard dash. They know how fast you do the quarter mile. They know how many miles you can run. They know your long jump. They know your high jump. They know that you can spring backwards. They know everything about you. That was never the case before in this industry. Hey, you see that guy? Yeah, he cut a great promo. Great, hire him, put him in developmental. Great, hire him, put him on Raw or SmackDown. Have him cut a promo on Monday. Let's see how he does if we just throw him out there. We take the baby, we walk to the ocean, we throw them into the water, and we see if they swim back. And if not, we dive out into the ocean and we pull them back and say, here's how you doggy paddle.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. We want people who are prepared, who are equipped, who are physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally understanding of the rigors that it takes to become a star, and then the responsibility of being a star.
For sure.
Thaddeus, Titus O'Neil was here, WWE Global Ambassador, and when he was done, because he had to go do some media commitments, he did not get up there and say, I want you all to concentrate on getting a job. I want you all to understand what it takes to draw money. What he said was, I want you all to understand your responsibility as human beings, that if you get this job, you represent this company, which means you affect my ability to feed my kids, because if you make the name of the company something that's a disgrace, it hurts my ability to feed my children.
Yeah.
I want to be proud for the company that I work for. Don't we all want to be proud for the company that you work for? So if you get a DUI, if you're involved in a bust, if you get taken down, if you do something stupid, you make us all look stupid. Look at the type of people that the company hires. And that resonated throughout the room. That I'm accountable in my actions to how well you are equipped to feed your children, to make your living, to put money away for your future, because if I drag us down, I drag you down with me. So we're also finding out who these people are.
Yeah.
And if there is a downside, what is a downside? And if the downside's addressable, how can we help them? How can we lift them up? How can we take this person and make them an even better person so that they're a far better representative of the company? I've very often told my own children, if I catch them watching a Marvel or a DC movie, because I personally hate Marvel and DC movies. Just hate superhero movies. Just hate them. That's just me, and I'm right in my contempt and disdain for them. But and they asked me why, and I said, and I tell them, because I know a real life superhero, and his name is John Cena. John Cena is a real life superhero, flaws and all. That's a real life. That's a hero. That's a superhero in my book. And we should all aspire to be the type of interactive community uplifter that John Cena is.
Yep.
And that's why he was such a great, and still remains such a great representative and ambassador for WWE. So, this is what we look for.
Yeah.
And it's not just limited to the guy can do a promo. The guy has some good moves. Did you see him drop the elbow off the top rope anymore?
Yeah.
There's much more to it. And good for the industry itself that we're taking into accountability the type of people that we want associated with it. Because for so long, there were no standards. If you could draw money, we didn't care. You see what a rat bastard that person is? Yeah. But he draws a lot of money. Well, then we're going to put up with them. Not in the next generation. We want to know we have a room full of people that view their image with the seriousness that a John Cena would view it.
And especially with something like that being said, those qualities, like those John Cena-esque qualities that kind of highlight who John Cena is as a human being and what makes him such a success story in wrestling and beyond. What are you seeing from these talent as far as because it's hard to gauge just from athletically. We know they have the athletic skills, but you talk to them as human beings. Is it their story, like you mentioned earlier, their motivation for wanting to be here? Like, what are the little things that really make this person or make that person stand out to you? And all right, this is someone that we want in NXT. This is someone that we want in our program.
Ultimately, for me, from my perspective, is the ability to sell themselves, the opponent, the match, the brand, the company, the merchandise, the event. Are you a salesperson? And what are you going to sell me? Can you sell me? And can you sell me effectively better than the other person? Who's the best salesperson in the room? Who's going to persuade me to be a WWE loyalist because of their involvement in the company? We are ultimately not just performers, we are commerce facilitators. Yep. We are here to sell tickets, we're here to sell streaming subscriptions, we're here to sell t-shirts, we're here to sell other merchandise, we're here to sell licenses. And we're here to sell the company on a whole as a brand. And therefore, as commerce facilitators, who's the best salesperson of that commerce? Whether it be to buy a ticket to see them wrestle, to hear them talk, to buy a t-shirt for someone like me who doesn't get in the ring and take beatings. Who's going to drive the revenue that ultimately feeds our families? It's a business. How do you feed the business? How do you build the business to be bigger tomorrow than it is today and bigger 2 days from now than it is tomorrow?
And especially with you talk about the ultimate salesman thing. Obviously, coming from someone like you are the ultimate salesman, and you speak from experience as far as what these talents should have to be a successful superstar. We saw that promo, like I mentioned earlier, the one that went viral, you speaking to the talent. I'm sure there's talent that came to today's tryout and yesterday's tryout that have no idea what they're in for before they hear you speak and before they hear Titus speak and people like that. And then it really starts to set in how important this is, forcing them to take it even more seriously and force them to go out there and really stand out and stuff like that. Just kind of talking about that and just what you said to them. And I saw earlier that a lot of them came up to me. I mean, again, that was yesterday. You cut that promo. A lot of these kids came up to you. And like I said, a lot of these people are athletes that either have no prior knowledge of WWE, aren't fans. They're just here to give it a shot and see if it's something worthwhile to them. There was a lot of people surrounding you about an hour ago.
Yeah.
What are you telling them, and what are they? I mean, obviously, don't have to give me the exact conversations, but they don't know the Paul Heyman that I may know or that he may know, right, but just being fans.
Well, this wasn't a group of kids that grew up as WWE fans.
Exactly.
There's a difference right now in that today's recruits are those who see this as an option, not an obsession.
Yep.
And so these aren't people that are living and dying by and breathing and hoping and praying that all of their dreams that they've been focused on since they were 5 years old can either come true or come crashing down around them by the decision that's made. this doesn't work out. Well, okay, well, I'll go play Canadian football. Well, I'll go play basketball in Europe or the NBA or I'll play for the National Hockey League, or I'll play soccer or rugby or whatever it is.
Or UFC.
Or UFC.
Yeah.
You know, so, or Bellator. You know, whatever. But that's the point. And my thing is, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions that you better not have the answers to, because if you do, then you're in the wrong class, because this is for people that don't really have the prior knowledge.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be offended by the fact that you don't know the answers to what I'm asking you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you so that then I can teach you how to ask the right questions and then develop the correct answers. There's an old expression, please don't feed me lobster, teach me how to fish. Mm-hmm. Make me equipped to self-survive, that I can do it on my own. And no one should be offended by not knowing the answer, because they haven't had the chance to be taught this stuff. At some point in your life, if I asked you what's 1 + 1, you don't know that the answer is 2, because nobody's taught you math yet. So the first person that teaches you math and says, what's 1 + 1? You're like, I don't know. Well, 1 + 1 is 2. And you go, wow, okay. Now I understand that. Now you have a foundation. Now you go from 2 to 2. 2 and 2 is 4. 4 and 4 is 8. 8 and 8 is 16. Now you go to multiplication, and you go to division and subtraction. And you learn the entire basis of math. But it starts with 1 + 1. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is. This is, hey, okay, well, wait a second. Are you in character? Do you feel the persona? Why are you saying this word? And if you're saying that word, why is it that word? And why are you saying it that way?
Yeah.
It's not an advanced course. It's not about the way you hold your shoulders and how you sell 100,000 tickets to a stadium show. It's just about getting to first base. It's about checking the box that you don't get sent home, that you can make it to the next part of this casting that is being done by this content creating company that's a $5 billion global conglomerate that's publicly traded.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. This is a casting. Who has the wherewithal to check as many boxes as possible that we want to bring them on to our content creation?
To then kind of build them from the ground up, not having that prior knowledge of the industry at all, which it definitely, from what you just kind of said there, implying that can be a positive, forming them and grooming them into be the superstar that you want. I mean, not you specifically, Paul, but
correct.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So kind of going off that. I mean, we were talking to James earlier, last question for you, kind of just finding, again, coming from a fan standpoint, finding that hybrid, because we have a lot of independent talent, whatever you want to call it, right. A lot of people that have that prior knowledge already in the company, in other companies, whatever. There is no other program like this anywhere in wrestling. No one that has the resources that WWE does to make this a possibility, obviously make this a reality. I think it's just fascinating to see a world 5 years from now where we have more Biancas, where we have more Big E's, people that didn't exactly grow up wanting to be a superstar and are then main eventing WrestleMania.
Right. Well, that's another thing, and I wouldn't limit it. I wouldn't limit the program to only being not anything like it in wrestling or sports entertainment or whatever genre of sports entertainment or sports entertainment you want to call this industry. I'd say it's the same thing for football, same thing for hockey, same thing for soccer, same thing for basketball, because they're all looking for square peg, square hole. Mm-hmm. And at least from my perspective, I'm not. There are plenty of people that I saw today that are qualified. Mm-hmm. Okay. Are they going to main event WrestleMania? There was a few people I could see that happening with, and I'm very excited about working with them in the future. But not all of them. But if you're not going to main event WrestleMania, are you a disruptor? Mm-hmm. Are you somebody that's going to change the industry? Are you someone that's going to give us a different vision that we don't have?
Yep.
Again, someone who's 20 better not look at this industry the same way I do. Mm-hmm. I look at it from the perspective of decades and decades in the business, and therefore I know supposedly know all the things what not to do.
For sure.
And all the things. Well, here's the cheat code. Here's the hack to the top. But someone who's 20 may know a far faster route than I do. Mm-hmm. I want to know that perspective. I want to see why. What are you guys playing today? Heavy metal? Hip-hop? Anybody playing reggaeton? Okay. This is something different, Hey, you may not know this, but, advanced EDM polka is the next wave. Really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait till you hear it. It's going to take over Coachella and Rolling Loud and the EDM festival in Vegas. Really? Yep. I was just there. Check out my TikTok.
Yeah.
If I told you 2 years ago that you had to search something online, the joke is, Google it, bitches. I'm not here to educate you. Google is now no longer the most dominant search engine in the world. It's still number one, but it has a tight number two. And number two is TikTok. Because if you go, by way of example, to Nashville and you say, I want an authentic Nashville barbecue,
sure.
I'm going to Nashville. Where can I buy the freshest Goo clusters, which are made here in Nashville? Right? If you Google it, that's one thing, but that's not what kids do today. They go on TikTok to see the videos of people who have come to Nashville and have experienced it themselves.
Yeah, it's 2022, yeah.
So it's a combination of Google and Yelp, and it's put together on video, which is like Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's the best of all, and it is challenging Google, which 2-3 years ago was unfathomable. That's disruption. That changes the entire complexion of an industry. And it forces all of us to be younger, smarter, hungrier, more ambitious, more aware, and to broadcast to a larger audience, not just the one that we already know. That's who I look for. Who's the disruptor? Who's going to communicate with me in a language that doesn't alienate people my age, but lures in people their age? And who's the 20-year-old that can talk to the 5-year-old as well as the 55-year-old? Find me that person, and I have a WrestleMania main eventer, or at least someone that can be at the side of a WrestleMania main eventer and sell me 100,000 tickets and a few extra million streams, etc., etc. And that's what I look for. I look for someone that's going to go outside of the box, and I'm an expansionist. I want to expand our audience. I don't want to just get the most money out of the people that we already have. I want to get the most money out of the people that we don't have as well.
Fantastic way of putting it. We're looking for the next star. I can't let you look for the next star while you're sitting here talking to me. So I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much. And I think that was a fantastic way of putting it.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.